The Trauma Informed Plymouth Network is a glorious network of individuals who are interested in learning about and promoting trauma informed practices, trauma informed ways of working. So people join as themselves, as individuals, rather than necessarily representing their organisations. We have representation from all the statutory services across the city, from the voluntary and community sector, and people with lived experience very much at the heart of the network. So people, yes, join as individuals rather than necessarily representing their places of work, out of a recognition that trauma can affect all of us. And that we often wear different hats, and that we might gravitate to the kinds of work that we do because of our own experiences of trauma, or people that we know and love. And or might be an adoptive parent, for example, and have children in our care who have experienced trauma. So it's really this just glorious connection of people, this network of people who really want to promote a trauma sensitivity, a trauma awareness, and trauma informed ways of working. It started back in sort of early 2018, just a very small handful of people who kept bumping into each other at meetings, and talking about how trauma often underpins most of all of the difficulties that we see in our city, and how organisations, though, can work in quite siloed ways. But also as a kind of response, wanting a sort of different approach to some of the research that was coming out about adverse childhood experiences, and the sort of correlation with later difficulties and problematic health outcomes, and wanting to kind of challenge that and really celebrate the strength that can come from people who have experienced adversity and gone through traumas, but really an emphasis on the kind of resilience and the recovery that is possible from trauma. Ideas have been amazing because the network has just grown and grown in a really beautiful and organic way, exponentially over the last sort of 4 years. We've got over 340 members at the moment, and it was just becoming sort of a bit too big and a bit too unwieldy for the founding members, all who have very challenging full-time jobs of their own, to manage in and of themselves. My post was very kindly created, and one of the first things that I was asked to do, or one of the main sort of features of my role, was to think about the visual identity of the network and its sort of sustainability moving forward. So we felt that at 340 members, the time was right for us to consider our sort of legal status, and to consider our charitable status or becoming a CIC, but none of us knew very much about that at all. And I probably knew the least of all. So Pop Ideas have just been fantastic. We got in touch with yourself, Paul, initially, and you made these connections with other members of Pop Ideas that have just been so fruitful and so helpful. So we spent a lot of time with Gareth from Iridescent Ideas, who really went through with us, just literally holding our hands step by step, all of the processes to weigh up the pros and cons of all the different sort of charitable and legal statuses that we might want to consider, and helped us to come to our own decision about becoming a CIC, and really guided us through. I can't emphasize enough how patient he was with us, how generous he was with his time, really sort of making a process that was really unfamiliar to all of us feel completely manageable, just guiding us through the whole status. And really pleased to say that we got our CIC status just before Christmas. It was a Christmas present, 2021. Been fantastic to have this kind of network of support and this network of ideas, and real creativity, that we experience from Pop Ideas. So we've had contact with a number of members of Pop Ideas. When we're at a loss, Pop Ideas seem to have the answer. So as well as just helped he's just opened my eyes to the breadth and range of the community and voluntary sector that I hadn't been as aware of in my previous roles before taking on this role. So connecting us up with a whole host of organisations in the voluntary and community sector. There's a network coordinators forum, which has just been really valuable for me to connect with other people. and all about networking. It's just an amazing collective of really creative people. Network is just growing and growing. There's such an appetite at the moment for across our city for working in trauma informed ways, and it's just so fantastic that there's this real sincere and genuine momentum building across across our city about people being really passionate about working in more trauma informed ways and being on this trauma informed journey. So there's so many exciting projects going on at the moment. We're in the process of developing a website. We really want to make our network more accessible and more visible. So that's really exciting, and we have some ongoing collaborations with pop collectives that we're excited about and that we're on the cusp of. But I guess the network will just continue to grow in its beautifully organic way. We've expanded from having sort of 3 branches of our network to now having 6, working with a branch for the criminal justice system, a branch for adoptive parents and foster and connected carers and special guardians, as well as our education branch, our lived experience branch, our workforce development work. There's so many different sort of directions that the network is going in. So really exciting times.